Oh, vlog. Is there audio? Let us see if there be audio. There's no audio. Can you hear anything? Wait. There we go. There's audio. Let there be sound. And I'm checking on the other end of it. There's a lot of wind noise. Boy, there's a lot of wind. I also live by a highway, and that causes a lot of wind noise. It's really, really fun. It's really good for the video. Gives atmosphere. She didn't talk? She talked. Okay. Let us go. I am so sorry about all of the delay because there were technical difficulties. Google for some, I had to restart the entire computer. There's a bunch of weird issues, but it's fine now. Past that, we are talking about critical failures by something Bevan. Bevan is his last name. I don't remember what his first name is. Robert Bevan. Robbie. He made this book. Oh. Is it my phone? Can you guys see things? Because my phone says you can't see things. And that wouldn't be fun. You can see things. Okay. Yeah, it's Critical Failures by Robert Bevan. First, let me start off by saying it is not a children's book. It is not for anyone. It is not for anyone below the age of 10. And for 10 to 18-year-olds, it's not for people who live in a household where the parents think the kids don't know about cussing yet. Because this book uses every curse word in the book except the N-word. I don't think they use the N-word. But yeah. And something I ended up doing, because recently I got myself onto GoodReads. There's a link down below if you want to follow me over there. I recently got onto GoodReads. And I read through some of the other reviews that were out there for this book to see what other people were thinking about it. Which there were some spoilers, but it's fine. It's fine. I still didn't fully understand what was going on, what was going to happen. I was also most of the way through the book by the time I decided to do this. But there were some things that I'm yeah, I can see that. It didn't bother me, but I see where you're coming from. There are also things where it's I can I disagree. Was there anything that I severely disagreed with? Because I can tell you for sure, there were a lot of people who were super upset about the language. There was one thing I disagreed with, but there were a lot of people who were upset because there's a lot of cussing, and it's just there was a lot of cussing, and they're this is too juvenile. These characters don't know fuck is they're the only word they know. And that didn't bother me. That I would believe. I don't know what age the characters are supposed to be. I'm assuming they're supposed to be 20s, 30s because they own a restaurant. But if they were young, I believe that a lot of young people, myself included, cuss because that's just a part of the dialect. It's not necessarily even cussing because it's vulgar. That is a word that we know just as stupid is a word now when it used to be considered extremely vulgar. That's just how language changes. I've talked about this before. But yeah, so there was that. The thing that I did disagree with, a lot of people said that they just that they felt the characters were just unlikable and mean people. And there's one guy who's he's a dick, and but that's kind of mean-spirited humor and mean-spirited jesting of each other. That's how this group kind of communicates. And at the beginning of the book, they're all playing creatures and caverns, critters and caverns, caverns and critters, something like that. That's the name of the game, but it's basically Dungeons and Dragons. And none of them want to be the cavern master, dungeon master, who is the one that basically, like, you don't need a ton of knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons in order to play this game, but if you, like, in general understand, like, a little bit about RPGs, that would help. But so you have the cavern master, who, when you're playing a game of, like, Dungeons and Dragons, there's one person who's basically controlling who is the one person who knows everything. So they know, like, if you turn this way, where you're going into, how many, like, bad guys you're gonna run along in the way. Maybe there's a town there. Maybe there's, like, a specific character. If you talk to this person, they're gonna have, like, their own, like, side quests, stuff like that. They're the ones that know all that information, and then you have all the other characters that are just playing along. There is, God, College Humor, I think it's College Humor on YouTube. It's Fantasy High, I believe. It's an RPG, Dungeons and Dragons style game, but, like, with magic and heists and school, and it's like there are a lot of videos you can watch. They're super fun to watch. So I would suggest that. But yeah, that's the Cabin Master. None of them want to be the Cabin Master. They all want to, like, experience the game, play along, stuff like that. And so they put out an ad on Craigslist, I think. And for this ad, they're like, hey, we need a Cabin Master. We need someone to lead this game. In comes Mordred. Mordred is a diehard, like, Critters and Caverns. We're calling it Critters and Caverns for the rest of this, but Lord knows if that's actually what it's called. He is a diehard player, and he comes in. He's got this velvet cape on. He's ready to be your Cavern Master, and they all just start making fun of him. And then they play for a little bit. There's one character, Julian, who he isn't, like, this is his first time ever playing, so he's like, Mordred's super into helping him along, giving him, like, some advice with, like, making his character, stuff like that. And so, but other than that, they're all really kind of jerks to him. They're like, look at your cape. What kind of nerd wears a cape? And they're doing that. They're drinking. They're eating chicken because they're playing in the restaurant that the guy owns. It's a chicken restaurant. And so they're doing that. And Mordred's just had enough. He pulls out his big black bag of ice. He's like, here, guys, roll. And they roll. And now everyone's been teleported into the game. And he's like, oh, you guys are stuck here for being dicks to me. And the thing that really drives the plot of this book is, before they got teleported into the game, Cooper, who's like the real dickish one, who's the most mean-spirited one, who is, like, more of a dick than anyone else, which I'm not sure if I ever, like, finished explaining that earlier, but because, like I was saying, like, a lot of people thought they were too mean-spirited, and that made them unlikable. I've had that kind of relationship with people where we can, like, call each other certain names, but we know we say it out of love and stuff like that. So I don't really agree with that. But Cooper is the most mean-spirited one, the most vulgar one, and he is a barbarian character. Before they are transported into the game, he sees this guard, and this guard makes, I think the guard makes a yo mama joke, and so he cuts the guard's head off. And when they get teleported into the game, now they have the entire guard of this city hunting them down for murdering one of their men. And that's a main driving point. So now they're teleported into the game. They're trying to get away because the entire cavalry's coming, because, like, decapitation is the big no-no in this town. They're running away, and they're all still confused, but they're trying to figure out how to get out of here. And the head starts talking to them. It's Mordred. He can talk to them in anything that he would like. So they have the head. He's talking to them, and he's letting them know, you guys are going to die. You guys are going to get put in jail, and you're going to get hanged for decapitating this guy. They freak out. They abandon the cart, and they all start running for it. So I forgot specifically what the characters are, but you have Cooper, who is a barbarian half-orc. He's what really, like, you don't need to know the specifics, but what you need to know is he's the biggest, the strongest. Then you have Dave, who is a healer. He can heal everyone, but he's buff, but he's like kind of short and stubby, so he can't run that fast. Then you have Julian, who is an elf, and he starts out as a wizard later, like because he's an elf and he has like low intelligence and a lot of specific stat stuff that isn't that important to know right now. He ends up becoming a sorcerer. He's fine. He can run. He's fine. And then you have Tim, who was the owner of the chicken place, and he is like basically like 3 feet tall. He's 3 foot tall, tiny. So Cooper can just kind of throw him over his shoulder and run with him, and that's how they usually transport Tim. So they're running around. Tim's on Cooper's shoulders. And they're leaving, and they realize, hey, there's a thing over there. I think I need to get it. Tim hops off of Cooper's shoulder, goes to get the thing. It turns out to be the head. Gets the head to the other guys, but Tim gets caught by the cops. And the name of the cop, I don't remember the whole name. I believe it's Captain Righteous Justificus Blade Master. Like, it's something so absolutely ridiculous. And when they see that name, they're like, oh my god, he's not going to be a level 1 guy. Mordred wanted him to stay around. Mordred, the Captain Master who made this game, he wants this guy to stay around, so he's going to be hard to take out. So he goes over to Tim. He's like, where's your friend that murdered my captain of the guard? Tim's like, I don't know, man. They dipped without me. Captain Righteous does not believe that, so they give Tim a nice good beating, and then they take him down to a dungeon. The other guys, for the most part, they don't do a ton. They just kind of camp out while they plan out how they're going to try and break Tim out of there. And the beginning of the plan, like overnight, you see Julian, who is the wizard. He brings to life this giant raven who becomes just his little companion throughout the book. And then he learns a couple spells here and there. It happens. That happens over there. The next most noteworthy plot thing that's going to happen is going to be with Tim in the jail. He is going to be just hanging out, trying to figure out how he's going to get out of there. There's a guy in a cell across the way from him, and that guy's name is Greeley. And Greeley's like, yo, we got to eat rats here. And Tim's like, not doing that. I'm going to move this bed. Oh, is there a hole there? How big is the hole? And Greeley's like, don't open that hole. Tim, obviously, even listening to the audiobook, I could tell Greeley was serious when he said, don't open that hole. But Tim's just like, nah, how big is it? I mean, I'm sure it's just big enough for you to fit through. And Tim's like, oh, that's so cliche. He pushes the bed to the side, and giant rats, bigger than normal sized humans. And remember, Tim is the one that's 3 feet tall, but this rat is bigger than a normal human, just comes out of this hole. And so Tim has to try and kill it because it's kill or be killed right now. And he is not ready to go down, not like this, not in a prison cell in a world he doesn't even know. So he kills the rat, he kills a couple rats, and then pushes the thing back on the hole. So that way he can keep the rats from coming in. And then he uses the rat bones because it's a skill he has. He uses the rat bones to be able to break out of prison. They break him out, and then he breaks out Greeley under the condition that when the jailer, his name is Shorty, he's about 10 size, 3 feet tall. When he comes down to give them food, we're going to jump him. So they jump him and throw Shorty in the jail cell, and they're about to leave, and Shorty's like, wait, take me with you. Why would we do that? Because they're going to, I can't betray you. They would kill me if they found out you guys escaped. I won't betray you if you guys get me out of here. So they do that. They're able to get out of the jail cell. They are able to break out of the jail cell. And when they do that, they go off into the woods. But ching, This, like, right after they escape, Cooper and the rest of the crew come in to save them. So Cooper and them come in, they break down the door. They don't break it down. That's important to note. They don't break it down, but they bust into the jail room, and all of the guards are down there, and the guards are being attacked by the giant rats that Tim released on them. So now the friends are stuck in the dungeon with the police force, because the like king or whatnot locked them all down there until Captain Righteous was able to kill like Cooper and friends. And Captain Righteous is over it now. He's like, I am not going to be sent down here to dogfight. I am worth way more than that. So he's throwing a tantrum, just sits in one of the cells and waits. Cooper, because he's big, strong, and he has the ability to get super angry and super strong, so he breaks down the door and they all escape. Everyone meets back up in the woods to find out that in the real world, Tim has a sister named Catherine Cat. Oh, hey, look at who we got here. This guy usually never comes around me. He's super scary. But Tim, like, Cat is Tim's sister. She went over to the chicken place, and she's like, hey, where's my brother? Mordred lies to her. She can tell he's lying. So he throws a die at her. She throws it back, and now she's in the real world. And then her boyfriend, not a boyfriend, Chaz, who used to play the game, same thing happens. And now we have two random people in the game. And this is the only problem I really had with it. I had two major problems with this book. One, like, it was written in 2012, but they make gay jokes like it's fucking 1990s. And it was cringy at best. Just downright not, just over it at worst. So that was a thing. But the other thing that I didn't like about this book was Kat, because she knows nothing about the game, and she's like a 5-year-old. So, have you ever been with a 5-year-old who doesn't understand what you're talking about? Or even maybe they do understand, but they just want to annoy you. So whenever you say, they'll be like, hey, why is this like this? Here's an explanation that covers all of the bases. But why? But why? But why? It's so irritating to just sit there and like 10 minutes of the book is wasted with her just, but why? But why? But why? And it's like, guy, you got transported into another realm. You have a wolf friend and you have pointy ears now. I think you should just take their word for it right now. Oh, God, that was the most irritating thing. There is one, and there are a couple other situations because, again, like I said, Julian, who is a part of the main group, also is new to this game. So he would also be asking questions. But there'd be questions he'd ask at the beginning of the game that she would ask also later in the game. And sometimes that was repetitive. There's one situation in which that wasn't. So in games, in like RPG games, you get to choose a race. And by race, it means, are you a human? Are you an orc? Are you an elf? Are you a goblin? That's what they mean. They mean more species than race. But it's called race. And so she's like Chaz is trying to explain race to her. And obviously knowing nothing about RPGs, nothing about this game, she thinks he's talking about like skin color. And the way it happens in the book, the more and more he tries to explain what race is and how it has nothing to do with race in the real world, the more and more racist he sounds. Like, it gets to a point where he's like, no, like explaining race and occupation. And he's like, you can be an elf wizard, or you can be like an elf wizard or a human bard, just the same as you can be a Jewish accountant or a black janitor. Oh, now I get it. And like the way it's done in the book, I thought was hilarious. I laughed so hard. And that was probably like the best comedy in this book, was that bit right there. But he is freaking out, this guy right here. This guy is freaking out. But so you have that. And So these two are now just thrown in there, and it doesn't really add to anything much aside from the fact that there's just another person asking more questions. Like, you don't necessarily need either of them. But everyone, after all of them have managed to break out of prison now, everyone meets up in the forest and they're just trying to figure out what to do because everyone's safe as far as they know. Now they just need to figure out how to get back home. So they take the head out because like Mordred's been talking with this head. Mordred's been talking with this giant rat head. And so they're not rat head, this giant, like, not, it's not even giant. Mordred's been talking with this human head that they cut off at the beginning of the book. So they're trying to talk to it, figure out how they're going to get home. And Mordred's like, oh, you're not coming home. I'm not going to bring you back home. I've sent others to this realm because you guys deserved it. And now everyone's super depressed. But they don't get to be depressed for long because two things happen. One, Captain Righteous finds them, and they're like, dealing with this guy again. They are able to knock him out and take his stuff, though. So he's now they have like his sword, they have his shield, and they're about to just kind of like tie him up and leave him when they hear something. So they, for breakfast, were going to eat a giant ant that they had found, hunted down and whatnot. Now they're hearing that there is like a mass of giant ants trying to find their friend. Whoopsie. So they all pile into this wagon that they stole. They bring Captain Righteous along because they don't want to be responsible for his death. And they leave. They dip out, not having any of that. They try and run as fast as they can. They try and like ride with the wagons as fast as they can, but the ants are like right on them. They get away, though. They are able to get away. They get, like, with his magic powers, Julian is able to like conjure up some horses, and they are able to get away. But then the horses are only temporary because magic needs to have limits. So the horses vanish. Wagon is stopped. Captain Righteous grabs a sword and threatens to kill Julian. Reinforcements from the next town over come, and now they're surrounded and most likely going to die. But Tim is smart. Tim can tell. Tim is smart. He's cunning, and he realizes that the like head of the police from the next town over that has come and is ready to execute them is actually just Mordred playing one of the characters. And so he figures this out, and he's like, "Hey guys, I have all of these things here. I have like you guys know what I brought here, but what I forgot back home on our real home in Earth, I forgot popsicles." And that makes Mordred like all snooty, and we're just like, I can have a popsicle. So Mordred goes into the freezer of the chicken place, and he gets a popsicle. But what he doesn't know is that the door of that freezer is broken, and so he freezes everyone, and except for himself and Tim, and they're talking. And he's like, okay, I'm just going to be able to find this latch to the door. And so Tim's like, go for it. Take your time. They look around. He looks around, looks some more, and he comes back. Like he replays the game. He's like, it's only like a second for Tim, but it's been hours for Mordred. And Mordred's like, it's been hours. I can't find it. And the character's starting to look like he's freezing, even though it's a really sunny day out in the game. And so they're like, hey, and he's like, okay, I'll bring you back. You just can't kill any of my friends. So Mordred replays all the characters, tells all the cops to get out of here. The charges have all been dropped, and these people are never to be bothered again. So the rest of the cops leave. It's just Mordred and the rest of them. And he's like, okay, how do I get out of here? You have to bring us back because you can only open the door from the outside. And Mordred just starts freaking out. I don't have the dice on me. I left them outside. I just came in here so I could get a popsicle. I didn't bring the dice with me. And now everyone's starting to get a little stressed because like, hey, like, please tell me you're joking. Please tell me you can bring us back home. But he's serious. He's serious to them. He's like, hey, like, I genuinely didn't bring dice inside of here. I left them out on the table outside, and I just came in here trying to just grab a popsicle. I can't bring you guys home. And so you watch the characters, and they sit and they watch as he basically freezes to death because he's going through time himself. He's going through more time in his dimension than they are right then. So he is watching so they all watch as he freezes to death in the like chicken hut freezer. Like, he eats some of the frozen meat because it's all pre-cooked, but he eats some of the frozen meat to try and stay alive a little longer, but that's just not enough. And they watch him freeze to death and he dies. And the end of the book is this is the end of the book. And so they're like, what are we going to do? And Cooper's like, we're going to go over to this town. We're going to get drunk, and then we're going to see how we feel in the morning. And that's the end of the book. And, like, that was something that was spoiled when I was going through other comments it was spoiled that someone was going to die. And I think that was mostly because, like, you can get this book. We just bought this book on Audible in, like, a volume of the first 4 books. And I think that's why it ended up getting slipped in there with, like, the comments for just the first book. But, like, so I was spoiled the fact that someone was going to die. I did not think it would be Mordred. That's, like, because I'm just like, how are these people going to get out of this game? Are they going to get out of this game? Is it going to be like a thing where the cops come to investigate, they find a dead person in the freezer, are they going to be like, what's this die? Throw it, and are they going to be able to bring people back? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm stressed. So that's happened. So that's where the story ends. I would say, in terms of how good is the book, how much did I like the book? I liked it. Like, I would read it again. I thought it was pretty funny. There's a lot of cussing, there's a lot of crude humor. There is there's this bit about the fact that one of the stats you can have in this game is charisma, and Cooper's character has, like, the lowest charisma you could possibly have. Not really, but, like, no one would ever want this low of a charisma score. And so his character is just, like, shitting everywhere. It's gross. That's because he has that low of charisma score. And so but I don't necessarily find it. There's also a lot of yo mama jokes, and when I see the comments like that, they're like, they're not funny. I don't necessarily see it as, like, that is comedy for me, as much as that's just how the characters react to things like this. That's how the characters respond to these situations. That's just what the characters are like. That's just part of who they are and how they talk to each other, more than, like, this is the author writing comedy for me. And that's one of the other things that I kind of disagreed with. But other than that, I think it's funny. I think if you don't mind some cussing, then you should definitely check this out, because I do think I thought it was amusing. It was amusing. I got through it. Like, I finished this book last week, and I've been dying to be able to stream about it, so that way I can go on to read something else, because I haven't been able to read anything. Speaking of which, I am probably, for my next book, going to read, because at this point I've started 2 series. Technically, I've started the Kill Shakespeare graphic novels, and I've started this. So I think I'm going to go on to read volume 2 of Kill Shakespeare. And then we'll see where we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm going to read volume 2 of Kill Shakespeare. If you would like, you can go back and watch my first Kill Shakespeare video, so you can get all caught up. I might do that as well. He's licking my fingers. He's so cute. But there's that. And you can also follow me on GoodReads, because I have been updating my books and my whatnots as I'm reading through them. I've been given updates of my reading progress. If I feel like there's a note that I wanted to have. Like, one of the notes on there is the fact that Cooper, in his, like, in-game form, sounds exactly like the WWE wrestler Braun Strowman, and that is a fact. That is a dead fact. So I'll make notes and stuff like that on GoodReads. I'm gonna have stuff about my new book coming up on GoodReads. I'm gonna upload that book to GoodReads and stuff like that. Because I have a book coming out. If you guys don't know, you can also check me out on Patreon, and you can stay on top of the information about the books. First chapter is going to be available there as soon as I finish editing and whatnot. And I think that's it. But so all that information is going to be linked down below. So until next time, valedictions, friends. Valedictions, friends.